all right. Welcome back to my channel, guys. How you all getting on out there? Just awaiting the entrance of the main man, Kyle Walsh Gunner. First commenting tonight. That man, Manny. Evening, boys. Good to see you, but yeah, well, you can see me anyway for the meantime, Manny. The main man himself, Kyle Walsh, will be making his way shortly, I'd imagine. Just watching the end of the game there, guys. Ireland absolutely battering England, 29-16. Well deserved. Six Nations champions in Dublin. The game is just finished. So big up to Ireland, man. Great win. You know what I mean? World number one. Beat the English. St. Patrick's weekend. Couldn't be much better. Manny wants to come on as well. All right. An unexpected but welcome surprise. How are you getting on?
Yeah, good. I mean, I saw you put the stream.
Yeah, you okay?
Link.
You look.
I know that you're.
It's warm over there, yeah.
I think you know by now, David, that I'm not too fond of the heat, and I really do miss the cold weather. But look, it is what it is, and at least in March it doesn't get too hot as it does.
You look a bit parched. Drink some water, my friend.
Listen, I'm not parched. It's nighttime over here, and I've already had my grub, and I might need to get some water. And listen, David, I know that you're expecting Mr. Walsh to come in. I just thought I'd pop on and say hello. It's been a long time since we've spoken face to face.
Yeah, no problem, man. Welcome.
Yeah, but first of all, belated Happy St. Patrick's Day to you, your compatriots, and your friends. How did you enjoy the occasion?
You're breaking up a little bit there, Manny. You sound like it's...
Yeah, it's the internet connection. Stupid connection, really. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're breaking up. Yeah, I can. You're breaking up all over the place. Keep talking. Let me listen.
Yeah. This internet connection which I've got right now, the Wi-Fi is really not the best. But I want.
Oh.
I'll tell you what.
It's getting worse.
It is getting worse.
Sorry, man. Sorry, but I don't mean to be annoying you. Yeah.
No, it's all right. Listen, you're not annoying me. But listen, I just wanted to ask you how you enjoyed your St. Patrick's Day celebrations.
Bored out of my mind.
Well, I suppose being in London instead of being back in Cork, being
no
bored
money
is really all you. Yeah.
No money at the moment.
Yes.
No friends. So I was just kind of at home, like looking around me, looking at the four walls. I had planned to do something with a couple of friends, but they made other plans and they weren't around London. I asked for 3 days off work, which I now regret because I would prefer to be working. But it is what it is. Next year, I'll go back to Ireland. I'll spend time with my friends. But yeah, this year is just,
You need to do that.
This one was just a bit of a, apart from them winning the rugby, it was just a bit of a, but it was nice. It was nice as well to have time to myself, though, because I have had 3 days of more or less stress-free time just to relax. I went to the park earlier. I'm living by Richmond Park. I don't know, do you know Richmond Park in London?
Yeah, I've heard of Richmond Park.
I went up there earlier. Yeah, biggest park in London. I went up there earlier, did a bit of fitness, and came back, had something to eat. And I've been relaxing the last 3 days, but it would have been nice to kind of be out socially. But next year, I'll fly back to Cork. I'll spend time with friends. I'll have a Guinness. I'll watch a bit of Irish dancing. I'll have some Irish stew. And then I'll partake in our favourite St. Patrick's Day tradition at the end of the night, throwing the hands. So, yeah, I think we're wearing the same T-shirt.
Yes, we are. I mean, not quite the same T-shirt, but definitely the same colour. Ironically, City are playing in the FA Cup right now. They're 2 goals ahead with
What's the score? They're 2-0 up.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that Alfie Haaland won't be getting his hat-trick because Guardiola will sub him off, just like he did before he was allowed to get his 6th goal against RB Leipzig. Oh, I spoke too soon. He's just got his hat-trick right now. The commentator's curse strikes again.
Where was Kyle? Anyway.
No, not Kyle. I was just saying the commentator's curse strikes, and it was Haaland who scored that, and his father, Alfie, in the stands over there is quite a happy chappy.
Roy Keane's buddy. Is it? I'll think the Haaland.
I wouldn't necessarily call them buddies. You know, you're
No.
being sarcastic, but yeah. And now maybe Guardiola will sub him off. Haaland hat-trick, tie done and dusted. Not a happy return for Vincent Kompany, but it was either watch this or watch Chelsea and Everton play something exceptionally boring, with Chelsea scrapping a tight win against a team which is fighting relegation. I don't want to watch that rubbish. I mean,
Manny,
when Potter coached...
you are a very busy man, if you don't mind me saying, because I saw you on Del Boy's channel, yeah, and given like the information about where people can find you. Like you're on this person's channel, you're on this. You are a busy man. Busy.
Yeah,
I was
listen.
like,
yeah, look, I really. One thing I'll have to do,
You're
Dave,
active,
is
huh?
make sure that. One thing I have to make sure I do is shout out your channel as well, because I mean, I think this is the third time I've been on your stream now, and hopefully with the video clear, my voice is clear with the headphones and everything, you can hear me. But the worst part is the internet is completely choppy from my side.
Yeah.
I think we've solved those problems. But anyway, listen, everything's okay. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's match. It's a sign of how Palace are not being sentimental, that they sacked Patrick Vieira before he could have a reunion with us at the Emirates. A lot of people are saying that they pretty much, jumped the gun, and that he should have at least been allowed to see an upturn in performances.
Kyle.
Mr. Walsh, good evening. Good evening.
Welcome,
Manny,
Kyle. Welcome.
Two
How are you getting on, man? You all right?
Two legends. How are you keeping? You good?
Let me just...
Yeah, all good, all good, all good. Thank you very much indeed.
You can see me. There we go.
I can see us all. I was just under a bit of pressure there because I tell you, man, Paddy's weekend, driving buses and taxis, and my boss man decides to go to ski the Alps. I'm left in charge all weekend. No sleep, no nothing, phone ringing. Daughter's birthday, she's going to a teenage disco tonight. I'm under fucking huge pressure here. But anyway, listen, I'm trying to squeeze everything in here, so big up to the two of you.
No problem. Thank you for coming in, yeah. I'm glad it's not Thursday, Kyle, because I think if we were speaking to you on Thursday, things would have been X-rated. I get banned off YouTube, eh? You were fired up on Thursday.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But welcome along to you, man. Thank you for joining the stream, and thank you also to Manny. The Europa League, man. Let's just kick it off there, yeah. Feel free to speak about whatever you want in between, guys. Manny and me are wearing the same T-shirt, yeah. You forgot the blue T-shirt note, obviously, Kyle. I put that out in the email, yeah. Wear a blue T-shirt. Manny was watching, but you obviously... Next time, wear your blue T-shirt, okay?
I told you, man. I'm up to my eyeballs for phone calls and drivers.
Yeah, the blue T-shirt memo, yeah. You obviously missed the memo, Kyle. You missed the memo.
I missed it.
But man, he got the memo. But look,
no, it was coincidence. You know that, yeah.
Coincidence, guys. Yeah. Congratulations to the Irish, anyway. Great win over the English. We deserve it.
Go back.
Oh, it was beautiful. I could say something else there, no, but banned off YouTube. What about the Europa League, guys? What about us getting knocked out? I mean, let's kick it off there. Big up. Oh, what happened? What actually happened in that game? I mean, I don't know what was going on. All I saw was the ball being kicked in from the halfway line into the roof of the net, flying over Ramsdale. And we were brutal in the second half. Come on, let's be fair. They were all over us in the second half. My God.
Manny, would you like to go first, my friend?
Do, Manny, you go first.
Well, I mean, I appreciate that, but actually this was advertised to be the David and Kyle shows, so I don't really want to.
It's your opinion, man. It's fine. It's okay.
Perfect,
all right. Well, appreciate that, mate. Thank you. So, I mean, I set the ball rolling on Del Boy's channel. I'm going to set the ball rolling over here. All I can say right now is I have to quote John Maynard Keynes, the famous English economist, who said, "When the facts change, I change my mind." And I'm going to sort of elaborate on that. And Haaland has just been subbed off after his hat-trick. It's 4-0 Manchester City, by the way. Let's not be under any impressions that this team is going to, slack off. The way they're performing now, I agree it's against Burnley, but they're coached by a former City legend. They're going to be determined to try to make sure they overhaul us. But back to the Europa League, yes? As I said, when the facts change, people change their minds, as said the famous economist John Maynard Keynes. One of the reasons why I was very eager to see, I was not eager, but at least willing to give Arteta some chance, is that, you know, you want to see progression. You want to see the team improve themselves season after season. And for what it's worth, we are still in a title race. And we've already managed to secure the bare minimum of points to make sure that we have Champions League football next season. But I'm going to come a little bit to a side issue on that. So, in as much as we've done well enough to make sure that we would get back into the Champions League, the requirement would be that we show that we have the chops to compete at that level. Because, of course, last season we didn't even have European football because we got knocked out of the Europa and our league position was so poor. And even with one game a week, we still failed to reach the promised land of Champions League football. So now you think that given that we're in the Europa League and that it's an opportunity to earn some silverware, you would think that this would be an occasion where the manager would take things seriously by at least putting up a team which would respect the opposition and making sure that his tactics would be spot on. Now, whether or not we respected the opposition or disrespected them, it has to be said that if we don't have a squad that's capable of putting in a good performance in both the domestic cups and in Europe, just like Manchester City are right now, how can we pretend that we will be able to do anything in the Champions League? And that is one thing that admittedly has been hammered home time and time again. I was a person who was so naive in thinking that at least with the Champions League money and the the publicity gained by potentially having a title race, and if we could still win, we could at least get some more players in, some players who could be maybe I don't know if necessarily we'd get the most expensive players in, but at least we'd get some better quality players, clear out some dead wood. But in handing new contracts to Mohamed El Neni, among others, we've shown that we simply don't care about that. And the tactics that were used on Thursday, I think it pretty much showed that we didn't care about it. And some of the players who have been much vaunted in recent days had a very poor game. I was buzzing over Jorginho, but on Thursday he pretty much blotted his copybook. He did, of course, that through pass to Martinelli for that chance, which led to the Xhaka goal, was sublime. But apart from that, he wasn't really able to dominate the midfield the way I'd hoped he would. And when Thomas Partey came on, Kyle, big up to you as well for reminding me of that, that was when we looked different. And it was only when some of the substitutions came on that we looked a better team. But should we have had to depend on our first team players coming on to finally make some sort of an impact? It was simply awful in many ways. And if Arteta can't take the Europa League seriously, can we pretend that we will take the Champions League seriously? Especially given that we effectively have to play our first string team in that competition in order to avoid an early elimination from the group stage. It angers me so much. We worked so hard to get back into the Champions League, but now I'm not even looking forward to seeing us play if we're going to keep this manager with his tactics. So we have no excuse now not to go for the Premiership title, because at least that will give us a little bit of credibility this season, having seen early exits from both cup competitions, and now they've scored a fifth, Cole Palmer coming on as a substitute. And unless we win the league, I have no confidence that we will even improve or even kick on this season, because this season has also been quite freakish in that several of the bigger teams have had poor seasons. So we've been allowed to come in. Yes, we've done the needful. We've controlled what we can control. But next season, will it be the same way? At least if we win the league this season, as your title says, Dave, it's now or never. And if we don't win now, I don't know if it may ever happen under Arteta. And so this is going to be a real test of his managerial chops and of the players. They're going to have to respond really, really well and give us a sign that they're taking things seriously. And I will say this now. If Arteta doesn't win the title, the board aren't going to sack him. But I believe he should resign. Mm-hmm. He's cost us 3 cups this season, and he could very well cost us the league title, especially now with the squad starting to look really bare thin with Saliba and Tomiyasu injured. he could very well cost us the title with some of his tactics and the way he plays. I don't ever want to see Alexander Zinchenko being played at left back again. I don't care how much he contributes to the high press and how much he contributes to the offense. It isn't worth it if you leave so many gaps at the back. And coming up against the likes of Liverpool and Manchester City with their dynamic forwards, do we dare continue with that strategy? Disgraceful.
Yeah.
We either win the Premier League title or Arteta should do the decent thing and resign. And yet I think we know very well he won't do anything of the sort. Mr. Walsh, the floor is yours.
Well said, Manny. Well said, man. I'm very, very disappointed on many, many, many fronts. So, Dave, I know that your channel has been monetized, so therefore I cannot curse as much as what I'd like to curse.
Do your thing, Kyle. Do your thing.
But I'm gonna have to things off my chest here. I'm gonna do a video later on, and I'm putting it up on my own channel because I'm going to rip. I am going to let rip. Listen, let's talk about the football team first, and then we talk about the fan base. That on Thursday night was nothing short of absolute disgrace. This is a European competition. It's an elite competition. 29 years ago, I personally was sitting down watching Arsenal beat Parma in the Cup Winners' Cup final. We played Sampdoria in the semi-final, who were a top Italian team at the time, with a top player called Lombardo. Lombardo missed a penalty, by the way. What I'm saying is that we went through to the final against another great Italian team at the time, Parma. Nobody gave us a chance against Parma. But we went out and we fucking did it, and we won it. Elite sport is about when this is Arsenal Football Club we're talking about. Since then, that's 29 years ago. What have we done since then? One Champions League final. We have done nothing since in Europe. We've been laughed at. Getting bet 6 and 7 and 8 2-1 aggregate. It's a joke. Then we have a great opportunity. In my opinion, we have a great chance to put that right and bring a European title to the club this season in this Europa League. Because I thought that we have a squad that's good enough to win this Europa League. I didn't fear nobody else. And within the first 15 minutes of the game Thursday night, I said to my father, I was watching it with my father, I said to my father, there's only one winner here tonight, and it ain't us. It was like we were the away team, and they were the home team. They were the one that was playing all the football. They controlled the game. And then we went extra time with them. What? It's unbelievable what I was watching. So we deserve to be beaten. We deserve to be put out. And it's all down to disrespect. Once again, we disrespect another elite competition. How many more elite competitions are we going to ignore and disrespect? It's not as if we're winning trophies year in, year out. It's a disgrace what's going on. And no one is being held accountable. I'm hearing the fan base making up excuses. Oh, this, I saw, fuck him. I'm going to mention his name. Robbie off AFTV. And he coming out and he's saying, oh, this could be a blessing in disguise. What sort of excuse is that? Coming from a man who owns AFTV from the very top. And he's putting out there to the fan base that this is acceptable. It's a blessing in disguise. I have a question then, Robbie. A blessing in disguise for what? It's not as if we're going to win the Premier League or anything, is it? And then you have all the fans coming out. Oh, what are you talking about, Kyle? You're negative. You're negative. Sure, we're on top of the league table. We can concentrate now. And then I hear the players coming out, Odegaard and all those lads coming out saying, oh, we have 11 cup finals. Excuse me, you've just disrespected 3 fucking cups. So what makes you think that you're going to win 11 cup finals, my dear friend? It's an absolute embarrassment. It's a joke what's going on. In my eyes, elite sport, elite competitions, is there to win. You're professional. If you don't do it and you're acting the bollocks, out. They don't win the league title. I'm calling names, and I want names gone out of my club. I am sick and tired of the mediocrity bullshit that we're being fed with this club. And the fan base are going around like this. Tunnel vision. They can't see nothing else. It's a disgrace. Absolute disgrace. I'm not happy. That other night was absolutely shambolic. It's not the Arsenal that I know of from the past. But then again, I haven't seen the Arsenal that I know from the past in the last 20 years. It's nothing but shambolic. And we better win this league title.
Yeah. Thank you to Manny for your thoughts, and thank you to Kyle. I think you summed it up better than I ever could. I was very, very disappointed after the game last Thursday night. I'm not going to lie. I was shocked. I was disappointed. To be honest, I felt nervous before the game, yeah. But it's kind of that part of the season now where I'm feeling nervous before every game. I honestly don't know where to start with the performance. I mean, what kind of mindset were the players in training? What kind of mindset were they in the dressing room before the game? I mean, we should have went out there and hit the ground running, put them under pressure, and take it from there. Maybe try to get an early goal, or even sit back and just soak up a bit of pressure and hit them on the counter. But you need a direct game plan. There was no... It was like they were disinterested out there. I mean, we could have been found out earlier, to be honest, maybe in the Europa League. We could have been found out earlier in the league. I think the win against Fulham, look, a good win. We played well, but I don't think Fulham are really up to much. With all due respect to Fulham at the moment, yeah, I have nothing but respect for Fulham Football Club. But I think maybe that kind of flattered to deceive the win we had over them. That great comeback win over Bournemouth. You got to remember we were 2-0 down at one point to the team second from bottom. It wasn't the first time. The way we lost against Everton. Okay, I'm going back now before the game that we beat them, yeah, but those two games were pretty close together. There was only a couple of weeks between them. And there were signs there that all was not right in the camp. And definitely Sporting are a team that are going places. And we needed to be on it from the very first minute to when the ref blew the whistle at the end to get something out of that game, to actually go through. I was very disappointed. And to be honest, once we conceded the goal, now they were already all over us. Once we conceded the goal, that great goal that they scored there, that Gonzalez scored, we were done. It was done. Martinelli was the poor unfortunate one that missed the penalty. Grand job. But, you know, someone has to miss. But it was what went before that. Unacceptable. We just weren't at the races. They could have beaten us by a couple. To be honest, we're not going to win the league. That's obvious in my opinion. We have to go to Anfield. They will beat us. We have to go to City. They're going to beat us. So what have we got to say about it? Like Odegaard, 11 Cup finals. I mean, they definitely need to put more effort into the competition that they're actually in. And I know players have to be rested. I know our squad is maybe a little bit thin, maybe injuries, this and that. But continuity breeds success. I mean, you play your best 11, and the next game we play our best 11 too. We have the youngest team in the Premier League, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, these guys should be able to play a couple of games in a row, yeah? I mean, they don't need to be rested. Guys like Martinelli, Odegaard, these are young guys. They do not need to be rested. I mean, I remember United back in the day, they used to have a bit of continuity going on with their teams, yeah? They would keep the same 11 from game to game as long as they could. George Graham's era, it was the same thing. Okay, football changes through the decades, yeah? Football changes through the years. Managers have their own way of doing things, but we don't need to make wholesale changes. Like I said, Partey, things got better when Thomas Partey came on. But by then, I don't know, we had lost our way in the game. And the other players, like, you can't just pick it up sometimes when you want to. You need to start in the right vein. Roy Keane always said that. I don't know, I was disappointed. And we weren't going to win the Europa League, in my opinion. But go as far as you can. Go as far as you can. We would have been playing Juventus, yeah? I did the draw yesterday on my channel. I know that you watch it. It would have been Juventus. And then it would have been the winner if we got past Juventus of the Man United. I don't know who United got in the draw. But then we possibly could have been playing United. But we would have faced Juventus. That's who Sporting got. I mean, go as far as you can. Go as far as you can. The league is not guaranteed. We are not going to win the league, in my opinion, and we never were even before this. I have to be honest now, and I love the club, but let's get it right.
Dave,
I don't know. I was very disappointed, and I still am, and it was terrible.
I'd just like to come
Honestly.
in there and make a few comments on what you were saying there, man. First thing I'd like to say is about this youth policy and the youngest team in the Premier League. That, for me, I don't care about any of that. Says Fabregas was 16 years of age, running the midfield at Arsenal. If you're young enough and good enough, it doesn't matter what age you are. The other thing is this. I don't want to hear any more excuses and bullshit about players being racist and squads and all that nonsense. I'm going to give you a little personal insight to my life. Back in the day, not anymore, but back in the day, I spent 13 years working on a coal lorry, delivering bags of coal, a 40 kg a bag, with gas going, big heavy cylinders of gas going into chip shops and Chinese shops, upstairs, downstairs, all that kind of stuff. We used to get 15 ton of turf, and I used to use a sprung and a weighing scales and weigh each bag with the turf, covered in dust. Start at 7 o'clock in the morning, in the winter time, finish at about 7 or 8 o'clock at night. I was so bad that I used to have to get on the ground and get my ex-missus to pull my jeans off me because they were stuck to my legs so much with the wetness. I used to be like a drowned rat at 7 o'clock in the morning, knowing that I still had about another 10 hours to go in that rain. And you know what it's like, the rain here in this country. And that's what I did. 6 days a week. 12-hour days. And just to pay the mortgage and all the rest of it, on a Friday, I'll come home at 7 in the evening, take a shower, get my dinner, put on a suit, and I'll be standing outside a nightclub Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday nights till 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning dealing with assholes. To make ends meet. Now, did I say to myself, oh, I'm tired? Yeah, of course I was tired. But I still had to keep going. And these lads are worth millions of pounds. More money than what the three of us would even be able to dream of. And people are making excuses about tiredness. Give me a fucking break. These players are elite sportsmen. They should be able to play 2 games a week for the money that they're earning. And if you're not able to do it, you're in the wrong game. Disgraceful. And then they're coming out putting in pitiful performances like that. It's a disgrace. Don't deserve. They're nice. They let the club down. They let the fans down. They let the badge down.
Yeah. Let me just check this commentary from McMahon Sense. Thank you for that, Kyle. Why did we start Fabio? Vieira, Jorginho and Nelson. Sorry, but you have to put your full starting lineup for this game. Why the hell did we buy Fabio Vieira? He's crap. I'm really pissed off we're out. Yeah, man, the wrong Vieira by the looks of things. Honestly, yeah, I think you summed it up well there, Kyle, man. You hit on a lot of good points. I don't know, man. I don't know where we go from here. I mean, I'm deflated, yeah. And I think tomorrow's going to be a really tough game because Vieira's gone. I think they're going to be out there with a point to prove. And, you know, this new coach syndrome or whatever. I think it's going to be a tough game for us tomorrow. We're at the Emirates, but sure, that makes no difference. We were at the Emirates last Thursday night. I'm just disappointed in general, man. And I don't think we're going to win the league now. What else do we have now? What do we have to show for it? I mean, you saw there was this award ceremony. Was it like best players in London or this and that? They were all on the red carpet, man. Bigging it up. Odegaard was wearing a suit. Big up to Saka, man. Saka's been good for us, yeah. But Saka was there. Oh, man. Arteta was there, you know. Oh, God. They're all getting awards. I mean, look at the performance they put in on Thursday. I mean, hang your heads in shame. I mean, what about the average Joe Soap? What about the honest-to-God supporters? And to be honest, I know you're going to get onto the fan base, Kyle. We can take that maybe next. No, yeah, you want to talk about the fan base maybe? But to be honest, there has been a lot of support for the team at the Emirates Stadium this season. What I'm saying is that the team can't really say that the fans have not got behind them. The fans have got behind them 110%. Maybe they were a little bit quiet last Thursday night, but who would be quiet watching that rubbish? Honestly, man. Seriously. United
The
got
only
through.
awards I want to see is the Premier League and the medals around the neck. That's the only awards I want to see now. None of this London-based bullshit.
Honestly. I mean, seriously. The fan base, I know that you touched on it there. Do you want to say a few words about the fan base? I mean,
joke. The fan base are a joke. The fan base is what has the club the way it is.
yeah.
Dave, listen, man. I was one of them lucky people. I experienced Highbury standing on the North Bank. I was one of those lucky people. I saw all the great players. Bergkamp, Henry, Perez, the list goes on. Ian Rice. I was lucky. And the atmosphere in Highbury used to be deadly. Loved it. Then we went to the Emirates. And you had the little section of away fans. And every time I was in there, the away fans were the ones making the noise. And what happened was, over the years, toxicity got between the fan base. So the fan base is very, very toxic. There's A and B. We're against each other. And this has been going on for years and years. But this season, it has changed. There's a different feel around the place. Because we're all on this high. We're all swallowing the bullshit that we're going to win the Premier League. That we're going to compete on every level. Well, I haven't seen us competing in the League Cup. I didn't see us competing in the FA Cup. I didn't see us competing in the Europa League Cup. So, in my mind, I don't think we're going to be competing to win the Premier League either. So, let's see what the fan base would be like then come the end of the season. But when we do lose out on the league title, it's going to be very interesting to see how many excuses, pitiful excuses, these fucking crowd of fucking assholes will come up with then. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's failure on every level. And names and hates have to roll.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Arteta's going to walk away anyway. Like Manny referred to earlier, I don't think Mikel Arteta's going to walk away if we don't win the league. And I don't think he's going to be forced out. And I don't think Edu's hand is going to be forced. The problem I have as well, why didn't we do more in the January transfer window? Because all of the players we bought were more or less backup. Now, with all due respects to Trossard, he is a decent player. But we got no real first teamer. I mean, like regular. A guy that will come in and make a position his own. We didn't do the necessary what we had to do. And this was the first time in 19 years. Now, I know we finished second a few seasons ago, whenever that was, yeah. But we were kind of in fourth leading up into the last 2 or 3 weeks, and we managed to slide into second. So it wasn't like this season. It wasn't like we had a genuine opportunity, a genuine, realistic chance to win the league. This is the first season in a long, long time. And we haven't won it in 19 years. It's been a hell of a long time since we won it in 2004. And they didn't do enough in the transfer window to give the squad the boost. Like in my opinion, a lot of the players have done excellently for a large part of this season. But also, like Manny referred to, another couple of teams maybe at the top, they haven't quite been at it. And we've got into pole position. Will we hold off Manchester City for the rest of the season? My opinion, no. Erling Haaland, I mean, he's scoring goals for fun right now, but they are a mixed bag city. They've got players that can do everything. From Mahrez to Haaland. I mean, they're just, I could go on and on. Yeah, the players that they have, De Bruyne, they've just got so many different players in their team. Grealish, that can do different teams, that can unlock a defence. Nathan Ake, incredible player. We saw that in the 1-0 win, I think, in the FA Cup. He got the winner. But the way he played Saka, and Saka is not an easy player to come up against. He's got pace, Ake, but there's much more to his game than that. The way he played against Saka in that match, every area that we're strong, they're strong in. And on the one-on-one, when we go to the Etihad, they will beat us. That is going to happen. Maybe against Liverpool we have a chance at Anfield, but City are going to beat us at the Etihad. For me, it's a straight loss. So we have to look to the other games. We have to start tomorrow, and we need to get a win against Crystal Palace. Well, that is not going to be an easy game, regardless if they lost their manager or not. It's probably going to be even harder now. It's disappointing, man. And where do we go from here? And the fan base, I mean, but look, regardless of what happened in the league, the Europa League, we had a real opportunity to get into the next round. And why didn't Arteta grab that by the scruff of the neck, get the team motivated, send them out there, hit the ground running, and score goals? Because that is what we needed. I mean, they are a dangerous team, Sporting. Look, let's not underestimate them. They're a professional team. They are a serious outfit. Any team that takes them for granted this season, Juventus, watch out. If they beat Juve, if United come through, United, they better watch out. Because the goal they scored and the way they played, Ramsdale had to come to the rescue a couple of times too. I mean, they had us on the rack. We were under serious pressure, and they're so smooth on the ball. When they were getting the ball in the midfield, they were so smooth in transition. It was just, they were flying through the midfield. I mean, we were just spectators. The defense looked all at sea. Okay, I think it was Saliba got injured. He went off. That didn't help the cause. But I mean, he wasn't playing in the midfield. You know what I mean? We just got overrun in the midfield. And they were picking us off. Their style of play, the tempo. Kim Kardashian was at the game. She was like this at the end. Yeah, so the rest of us, honestly, man, I'd say she wish she never turned up and watched the game. Let me check.
Yeah, we need to make sure that Kim Kardashian never comes to the Emirates Stadium ever again. The simple fact is that she's not exactly a good luck charm, you see. But Dave, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. I see your facial movements, so you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Obviously, like I think Kyle has touched a little bit on the fan base, saying that if we end up losing the league, there are going to be a great deal of many excuses. What angers me so much, though, McManus's comment here: the fan base is the problem. Happy to settle with just getting a Champions League spot. We're in the title race, and if we miss out, the fans will be. We didn't expect to win fourth place was the target. And there's a wonderful phrase, Dave, which is sort of another version of what people normally hear. These fans want to have the penny and the bun. You've heard of the nursery rhyme hot cross buns, haven't you?
Yes.
1 penny, 2 a penny.
Yes.
So when they say they want to have the penny and the bun, they want to have the bun, but also not have to not have to spend their penny to get that bun, if you know what I mean. And I don't mean spend the penny in another idiomatic sense, so don't get any ideas, guys. But these are the same people, mind you, who would beat their chest and say, with the way we have, the way our team is, the way our manager is, Super Mick Arteta, who knows exactly what we need, with what we got in defense and attack, at the back and in attack, there's no team that can stop us from winning any league, whether it's the Premier League or the Europa League. And then when we eventually crash out, these same people will be in full voice saying, we can be proud of the fight that we showed. But my question is, and I'm sure Kyle will resonate with me on this, is this what we come down to? Have we come down to being this bunch of people who will raise our voices, who will utter such rubbish about how you'll never beat the Arsenal, just like you say you'll never beat the Irish, although the Irish, at least, I see a lot of fight in them, at least in the football team and definitely in the rugby team. I hope you lot go a long way in the World Cup. They're going to keep singing, you'll never beat the Arsenal, there's no other team like us. And then when we fail to achieve any kind of targets, they'll just say, well, you can't just sing when you're winning. You've got to be a good supporter and cheer the team through thick and thin, no matter what. And it's an insult to the intelligence of people like you, Kyle, and me to say that just because we may not be happy with the way things are going, we are not true fans and we don't get what it's about. You arrogant idiots. Of course we do get what it's about. We've been watching football for as long as you have. We've been watching Arsenal for just about as long as you have. And you people have the gall to come and, insult our intelligence by saying we don't know what we're talking about. Of course we know what we're talking about. It's been 19 years since we've won the league. It's been 29 years since we've won in Europe. It's been 30 years since we've won the League Cup. At least we've had a few sprinklings of FA Cups in between to sort of make things a little bit nice. Ooh, a spoonful of sugar which could help the bitter medicine go down, as it were, as Mary Poppins would say. It's not good enough. And when you take a look at the London clubs, we're lagging behind Chelsea in terms of European silverware. And when you take a look at the list of clubs that have also won the league, but also won the big European trophy, Manchester United, Liverpool, Chelsea, and even Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa.
Nottingham Forest twice.
I mean, seriously. Yes. And we take a look at ourselves and say, well, we may have a large number of domestic trophies, but what sort of team are we in Europe? And we need to look at ourselves and demand better for ourselves. And just because we demand better from the team, just because we demand better from ourselves as a club, just because we demand that things, start to improve and start to show some change because we're sick of the same status quo, doesn't make us toxic supporters. If anything, the true toxic supporters are the ones who insult people like Kyle, you, and myself for saying what we're saying. These were the same people who were confident of winning the Europa League, and now they're saying, well, we still got to support the team. And so if we fail, God forbid, I hope we don't, but if we fail, and the same people will come and say, well, let's be proud of it. We've had a good time. It's not about the destination, it's the journey. But we've been on the same journey for the best part of 20 years, since 2004. You absolute morons. And I'm sorry for sort of coming up with an air of Lee Gunner like this, but this is sort of the way it is. You see how a lot of these ideas, when you take a look at it, when you start to think about it, all of this positivity sounds so not just hollow, but completely toxic. And somehow or another, someone has to be brave enough to say the emperor has no clothes and say, look, we need to do better. Those tactics that Arteta employed are absolutely shabby. And I'm not about to, exonerate him from our transfer business, because any manager worth his salt would be willing to have a chat with the owners and say, look, we have a chance to win something here. We need to get something. We need to do something really substantial in the transfer window. Now, we all remember last January's transfer window when we did sweet FA and ended up losing Bruno Guimaraes to Newcastle, who ended up sinking our top four hopes. We were supposed to get, Gabby and Tierney, neither of whom was signed by Arteta, and Tierney isn't even playing under Arteta now. Thanks a lot for that, David. But as I was saying, we had a chance to, at least some people will be positive and say we improved on our transfer window by getting Trossard, Jorginho, and Kiwior. But Kiwior didn't even play a single game for us until the Europa League. Jorginho, he was considered surplus to requirements at Chelsea and came to us. Started well in his first few games, but then started to drop off a little bit. Maybe it's a sign that Chelsea was smart enough to bin him because maybe his stamina is lacking. Trossard has looked really, really good. But in lieu of everything that's happening, we now realize we can't keep hyping up these signings because they weren't our first choices. We wanted someone like a Mykhailo Mudryk, who may be struggling at Chelsea, but given his age and how highly he is rated, I think he will come into his own later on. We wanted Moses Caicedo, but he was apparently too expensive, and our board, penny pinchers as they are, didn't even want to spend anything. So it's history repeating itself again, you see. And so even if we end up with the main aim of Champions League football, fine, you've got your Champions League football, fair enough. What's the guarantee that there's going to be any sort of improvement? History is repeating itself. And it is sickening to see the same crap again and again and again. And unless things change at the top, we're going to keep having the same thing again and again and again, because the fish will always rot from the head down. And that is why, so sooner or later, what's it going to take for these fans to see things the way we're seeing? The only thing that can happen is if we have a dreadful season where we win absolutely nothing at all. And Kyle, I am going to come to you. I think David's having some connectivity issues, but I'm sure you and I are singing from the same hymn sheet. The floor is yours,
100%, man. 100%, man. And the thing is, like, the fan base, like, I'll give you an example of the fan base. Today, for example, I was walking across to the shop today. Two so-called Arsenal fans living here stopped me on the street and they said to me, "You're happy now?" I said, "What am I happy for? Sure, Kyle, if we don't win the league, we have Champions League football." I say, no, not happy. I don't want second, third, or fourth. I want number one. They tried to say that I'm a negative fan. They tried to say, what do I know about Arsenal Football Club? I said to the two of them, I'm 38 years supporting Arsenal. I was seeing loads and loads of games live. I was seeing the best of the best playing. I said, how many years have you watched them? The two of them told me that they're 7 years supporting Arsenal Football Club. And they're pointing the finger at me. And I said to the two of them, let me get this straight to you. Just say we finish up second and we get Champions League football. And this also goes if we win the league, man. Also. But I'd rather do it as champion than do it as second or third or fourth. Forget Champions League football. Because, very simple. Sporting Lisbon was in the Champions League and they fell into the Europa League. And they gave us an absolute football lesson Thursday night.
That's right.
So what makes us think or give us the arrogance to believe that we are going to go into Champions League football next season and light up the world? We will go into Champions League football next season with the same manager, with the same mentality, with the same arrogance, with
philosophy,
the same fan base, with the same squad, with the addition of a couple of players that ain't fucking good enough. Example, Jorginho, Fabio fucking Vieira, and these crowd of clowns. And we will be made a show of again in Europe. So what is the point?
In front of the world.
We're going around and around and around, and this is going on and on and on. This is what we're up against. What I want to see, win the Premier League, get the Kroenkes out, get a Saudi Arabian dude in, I don't care if he's after murdering 3,000 people. Get him in, put in his oil money, and get us to compete and win European Cups. And get us competing at all fronts. I'm sick and tired of failure after failure after failure. Man City, there's been league titles since they got their big Saudi Arabian fella, or wherever the fuck he's from. That's what I'm saying. These lads come in and they clean up. That's what, at the end of the day, I don't care who's over my club. I want my club to win at all costs. But we're not going to because we're stuck with the Kroenkes. We're stuck with Arteta. I was talking to a very good friend of mine today. Very good friend of mine. Who knows his stuff about Arsenal. He has a YouTube channel. And he made some valid points. He said, Kyle, if Arteta fails, you want to sack him at the end of the season. Who do you get in to replace him? And who are you going to spend? Like, he's after spending 500 million on this current squad. Will the Kroenkes back this new manager? And he made some very valid points. But I came back to him and I said to him, well, it's like this. Are you prepared to sit there and look at Arsenal fail for another 4 or 5 years under this manager? So, if we don't succeed and win the league title, lads, we are in a spot of bother. Because forget next season. Because Man City will be back stronger than ever. Man United will be back. Liverpool will be back. Chelsea
this is our chance. This is our chance.
We have no hope next season. This is the best chance we have of winning the league title in 20 years. Now, are we going to have the balls to go and do it? Or are we going to fuck around like we have all season?
Yeah, I think that's a rhetorical question, to be honest. I don't think we're going to land the title this season. I don't want to be negative, man. You touched on a lot of good points there. Geez, if we get into the Champions League anyway, we're going to finish top 4 in my opinion either way. But if we get into the touch wood. But if we get into the Champions League, like you said, Sporting have come from the Champions League, and you could see that in them. And they didn't progress, but they are infinitely better than us. Will we make it out of the group stage? We want to see development, domestically and in Europe. I mean, why sacrifice the Europa League? Look, I'm not saying they sacrificed and they threw the win away, but definitely the way they went out last Thursday, there was no commitment. We didn't do too bad in the first leg, But the way we played at the Emirates, I mean, I'm glad I wasn't at that game. I imagine being a fan at that game. Look, a lot of things have to change at the club. I'm another one that was kind of, I wouldn't say I was sucked in. I was supporting the club a hell of a long time, since 1993. But when things went well for us this season, up to a certain point, I was like, you know what? We actually have an opportunity. And the thing is, then we fell away. We lost to City, we lost to Everton. City were just about to take over, and then we got like 5 wins in a row, I think, in the league. 4 or 5 wins in a row. So, of course, then my blood was back up again. I was like, you know what? We actually are a resilient team. But the performance the other night was anything but. I mean, it was alarming. It was just, when the chips are down, when the pressure is on, when we have to produce something, whether it's home or away, I mean, really produce something against a team that can play. With all due respects to Fulham, yeah? But against a team that can actually play. Like Adams back in the day, players like Tony Adams, Patrick Vieira, Dennis Bergkamp, Thierry Henry, Robert Perez, Freddie Ljungberg. I mean, there was games when these players had to dig in and win 1-0. It wasn't all champagne football. We had to win 1-0 in a lot of games. We just don't have that. You know what I mean? And this is when we had the likes of Bergkamp and Henry on the field. But there's games where you have to dig in and win ugly, whatever way you want to put it. We don't seem to have that level of, I mean, that's what we should have done against Sporting. That's exactly the way we should have approached the game. 1-0, 2-1, nothing pretty, nothing fancy, get the win. They absolutely annihilated us in that game. The second half, I didn't even recognise the team. I didn't know what was going on out there. They hit the equaliser, great finish. We were very bad in possession in the centre circle. I remember the way we lost it. He snatched onto it, looked up, one chance, ball was in. That's the way we should have approached the game. That kind of mentality. You know what I mean? And no little skill. I mean, they can play. I was just, I mean, honestly, it's like, and now we have Palace tomorrow. For me, the confidence is at an all-time low. We're at a really low ebb at the moment. There's injuries are coming. Gabriel Jesus is back. Yeah, that's grand job, fair enough. But I just think we're going to struggle now. We're going to struggle. If we get Champions League football, something has to change. I don't know. Look, maybe we've been living in denial a little bit. On the crest of a wave, this season has been an unexpected success to a certain extent. But the underlying problems are still there for all to see. And now it's coming back again and resurfacing. Look, I've been the person this season that has been saying to everybody, now I am Mikel Arteta out there, but I am the kind of person that has been saying to everybody this season, we all should just get behind the team for now and support the team as they're making a title push. You know, I wasn't willing to have us kind of on separate sides of the fence. Everybody should just come and support the team. And I was delighted to see the atmosphere at the Emirates, the team rising to the occasion, the fans responding. Look, it's all good. It's all positive. I'm not going to split hairs. But now, the way things are, and like the both of you alluded to, guys, the fans, they have a kind of a backup, yeah? The so-called fans. They have a kind of a backup. If they have an excuse for everything, well, if this doesn't, it's because of that. And if that happens, it's because of this. But look, at least we got to this, and at least we came second, and at least we. And like you were saying also, Man City, Chelsea, United, Liverpool, our success in Europe, Nottingham Forest, Celtic, Scottish team, yeah? They've done all right for themselves in Europe. And where do we find ourselves? Honestly, I don't know, man. It's getting a bit too much at this point. And like the next game tomorrow and the games after that, I think we have a mountain to climb, and it's only getting more difficult now. It was easier in the middle of the season. It was easier at the start of the season. This is where it's going to be decided, and we don't look creative enough. We don't look steady enough. We don't look solid enough, and we're predictable. Against Sporting, we played right into their hands. They were laughing, I'd say, at halftime. They came out in the second half, and there was no fear. They played just completely free. There was no pressure on them. They were collecting the ball.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
I'll just give you a little look inside, a little fact here. I support Arsenal 38 years this year. Okay? In those 38 years, I have seen our great club win 2 league cups. I have seen our great club win 1 European Cup. And I've seen our great club in 38 years win 5 league titles. That is not good. And also, 19 of those years, I have seen our great club win 0 league titles. That's more than half of my lifetime supporting Arsenal Football Club. No league titles. That to me is not good enough.
Yeah. To be honest, I just can't wait to see what happens tomorrow against Palace. I mean, I'm going to tell you a lot about this team now, where they currently sit, where they currently are. I don't know why they went out that game against, like, what was going on in the changing room before the game? What was the captain saying? What was Arteta saying? I mean, they had to go for a fight, yeah? They knew it was going to be a battle. I mean, it was going to be a tough game. But is that the way we're going to respond? The going gets tough, and when we meet a team that can actually play, because they are better than us, in my opinion. But like I said, resilience, character. It's not all about ability. Like I said, there was times when Henry and Bergkamp had to get the 1-0s. They had to do that. Vieira, they had to get the 1-0, get the 3 points, shut up shop, and they had to play ugly as much. I don't know. It was one of those games where we just needed to get the win. We just needed to get the win the other night. And if we haven't developed that, I mean, this man is right what he's saying, yeah? David Owens, Champions League, his previous message, Champions League, we're going to really struggle. I mean, it's going to be tough for us. I don't know, but be careful what you wish for, guys, because we're going to go in there, and I don't know when we get out of the group stage, because we haven't been in there in so long.
You
haven't been in
just
there in
said
so
something
long,
there,
man.
man. You just said something there about be careful what you wish for. And I remember, I actually have videos on YouTube. I made videos on YouTube years ago. For the last 3 or 4 years of Wenger's reign at Arsenal Football Club. And I was putting up videos shouting from the rooftops for change. I wanted Wenger to step down 6, 7 years before he did. And what was said to me?
Yeah, previously.
Be careful what you wish for. That's what I was told. And I said, no, I said, out. He's done. He's finished. The club is done. I was one of the very few people that was doing it. Because they could see what was happening. So be careful what you wish for, I was told. And look at where our club has been since. Fucking shambles.
Yeah, Manny, would you like to say anything after that? But I'm honestly drained. I'm so deflated since that game last Thursday. You've no idea. I mean, I got back into the buzz of like following the team. The title push has been fun. This season has been great to see us actually challenging for once. But now it's just like reality bites. You know what I mean? We're about crashing back down to earth with that performance last Thursday.
I think for what it's worth,
honestly,
I agree. But I think for what it's worth, with City, of course, having played in the FA Cup, we do have a chance to increase our gap to 8 points over them, albeit given that they have a game in hand. And if there's one crumb of consolation, we've seen City slip up on several occasions. When we lost our 8-point advantage over them the first time when they beat us 3-1 at the Emirates, we believed then and there, many of us believed then and there that it was, it was almost done and dusted. And then City went and drew against the spirited Nottingham Forest team. Of course, for what it's worth, City also do have a fairly difficult run-in, given that they also have to play against Liverpool at the Etihad Stadium. And there's no guarantee that that's going to be a very easy win, because Manchester City did lose at Anfield too. It's been a freakish season. As I've said, many of the teams in and around us have not really stood up to make themselves counted. So we should give ourselves a little bit of credit for doing what was expected of us and doing what we need to do. And tomorrow's game, we talk about the potential of a response and a bounce after sacking our very own PV4. I don't see that happening, though. I don't see that happening. Because when you take a look at the Palace team, they have not been performing at all well since the turn of the year. They've recently become the first team to play 3 consecutive games and not have a single shot on goal in the Premiership. And several of their players, much vaunted players, have really not been able to shine this season. I'm talking about the likes of Zaha, Olise, and several others. They've even got some goalkeeping issues, mind you, because with both Guaita and Johnston unavailable, they had to play, I think it was an 18-year-old guy named Whitworth, Sam Whitworth.
Yeah, Whitworth.
Against Brighton. Didn't do too badly, still ended up on the losing team. But to expect him to try and repel the likes of Trossard and Martinelli and Saka. Tomorrow, of course, this is going to be, we say that this is going to be a test, and I think we all know that they're going to respond well. And to our credit, whenever we've had to do something in the league, we've always responded more often than not with a comprehensive performance. Of course, what gets my goat is how people can big up the wins over Aston Villa and Bournemouth and say, stuff of champions. No. We've seen games where, Arsenal have played well, still fallen behind, but still worked hard to win. One of my best games was in the 2002 season, Arsenal against Aston Villa. I believe Paul Merson came back to Highbury at the time as captain of Villa. He and Steve Stone put Arsenal 2-0 ahead, and they were 2-0 ahead at half-time. But at half-time for the second half, we made some substitutions. I believe we brought on Martin Keown and Sylvain Wiltord, and we then scored 3 goals to overhaul their lead. That sort of performance right there is the stuff of champions, because we didn't necessarily play badly. But when you concede an opening goal within 9 seconds against a team in the relegation zone and allow yourselves to get dominated by that team for the better part of an hour and still huff and puff and eventually have to have a breathlessly late winner to win, that's not something to celebrate. And against Aston Villa, we were 2-1 down for the most part. Zinchenko scored a decent goal. And then there was a very fortuitous goal from a strike from Jorginho, which ended up being an own goal by Martinez. And then we added some gloss to that with a 4-2 win. People big up those wins and say that's the stuff of champions. No. And Kyle can testify to this, because we've seen even more spirited performances, even better performances, which we can say that that's the stuff of champions. You can't serve people like Kyle Walsh and myself crap and call that chicken curry. I don't know if Kyle Walsh enjoys Indian food, but I had to use that example.
I do, Manny.
Probably not too spicy, though, eh?
I don't mind the spicy, Manny. I don't mind the spicy.
Goes well with a Guinness or a Heineken, mind.
Absolutely.
So we've seen performances where the teams have played well, but still end up falling behind and still come on to win. You don't play badly, you don't play terribly, then find a way to win by the skin of your teeth and call that the stuff of champions. I'm sorry, you don't. And this is the sort of mentality which can sort of, stifle our campaign. As I said, for what it's worth, we should win tomorrow because Crystal Palace do look demoralized. Yeah. But again, if we recall, history can sometimes prove me wrong, because this season we were up against Everton at Goodison. They looked demoralized after getting rid of Frank Lampard. Sean Dyche came in and stifled us, and they won 1-0. Yes, we crushed them 4-0 at the Emirates. We somehow find a way to respond. But we also have to look inside ourselves and be honest enough to say that at many points in the season, our performances haven't been good enough. And that is something that the fan base will never do. That is something that the manager will never do. And good managers and good players will also have the common sense to say, yes, we might have gotten the 3 points, but we know that we should do better. And there's a saying which always holds true: you are only as good either as your last game or as your next game. And you have to keep being better than you were yesterday. So we need to make sure that we are better tomorrow than we were Thursday. And we need to make sure that we're better in these remaining cup finals than we will be tomorrow. Kyle?
Yeah,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
man, you're spot on there. You're saying about performances, champions performances. No. You're spot on, man. They're not. What they were, that's win against Aston Villa and the Bournemouth game. That's down to pure luck. That's all it was. That Aston Villa game, like I keep saying, that could have been 3-2 to Villa the last kick of the ball.
yeah.
They hit the crossbar, we went up the field, and look at what happened. That's not champion material. That's
And
just
Bournemouth
yeah.
as well. Bournemouth
Yeah.
as well, man.
Just look. That's all that is.
Bournemouth
I
as
tell
well.
you what, I tell you what form of champions it's. Going out tomorrow beating Crystal Palace. Going out the next game. Taking these 11 cup finals and winning them. And winning the league. That's champions.
Yeah.
Until then, I don't see any champions.
Yeah.
I just had to say to you there, man, I'm going to have to pop off.
No problem. You told me that earlier. No problem, man.
The daughter started sending me a message looking for money, but she said that she's going to the disco with her friends that I'm not allowed to go because she knows that daddy will absolutely fucking crack. So, on that note, mate, I may go. Dave,
I'll see you later, Kyle.
A
pleasure, yeah. Thank you, Kyle. A pleasure, man.
We'll do it again, Dave. Manny, you're a legend. Once again, always a pleasure to share the screen, man.
Cheers.
Here we go again.
See you later, Kyle.
Here again.
The boss is ringing. See you later.
Of
Good luck.
course. Cheers. Wish your daughter a happy birthday for me.
See you later.
Yeah. He actually had to go on another stream, and I think we kept him on for about half an hour too long. So you still got me as company. Now,
he never told me about that, Joe. He never told me about that. He should have told me.
Yeah.
Well.
But anyway, listen. I mean, he honored his commitment to you first, and the other guy's cool with it. It's all cool. But I want to go back to what David said. The bounce is an important thing. Bear in mind, David, that given that they've sacked Patrick Vieira, it is McCarthy, the interim manager, who will be coming in tomorrow. They haven't actually appointed a new manager as of yet. And, Dyche was the permanent appointment, and that was where you get the bounce. Of course, I get it that once you sack a manager, there is that bounce. And of course, it did happen for Bournemouth with Gary O'Neill coming in and leading the team through a wonderful recovery period. But now they're sadly in the relegation zone once again. And there's some segues into this thing. After the Bournemouth game, Arsenal fans were mouthing off on it, saying that we're better than City. We're built different. Only 5 points ahead of City, and they can still win. McManus, mate, you said it. And I'm glad you haven't mentioned the channel by name. How dare these fans have the nerve to say that we are better than Manchester City? How dare they come and say that on such a public platform, knowing full well that they're going to be recorded on YouTube for posterity? What a bunch of tossers.
That was Oh man, honestly, it's been such a tough couple of days for me, man, with the team and the way things have happened. I didn't expect that defeat to Sporting. I did not expect that defeat to Sporting on Thursday.
Yeah, none of us did, man. And
I'm clueless I fear the worst, man. I fear the worst. I don't know what's going to happen for the rest of the season, and the future is kind of like Arteta'S future at the club. Edu, Vinay, these guys in the background, the Cronkies. Now it's kind of opened up old wounds, and those wounds were healing slightly because the team is on the up. I mean, this is our best chance in a long, long time to be champions. We didn't really do what we had.
Now you started to freeze a little bit. I get where you're coming from completely. I'll wait for you to, come back. Well, people, it looks as though David Cole, our old school gunner, has some connectivity issues, and sadly, I can't. I could always go to the go to the video and read some of the comments in the chat if things are loading up. Yeah, there are no comments. I will go through a few others. There was another one that was said by David Owens, Arteta being on the transfer committee and therefore he is culpable. Thank you very much indeed for backing me up. David, you're back.
I'm back. I had to switch. I have two different Wi-Fi's there. I have one downstairs and one upstairs. So I switched to the extension, which is right outside.
Maybe you'll get another one in the ladies' chamber.
I wish. Look, anyway.
Yeah, but anyway, you were saying you were talking about how the club being on the up would have was making things a little bit better.
Yeah,
but yet you're probably fearful about the situation now. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. And I feel a little bit disheartened too, because I mean I don't want to exaggerate things, but a lot of us we're working class. We support the club. We love the club more than maybe the owners, the management, the players actually fully understand. And it gives us a lift when we're going about our day to day. You know what I mean? It's like an escape for us after work in our private lives that the team was doing well. It has been a real plus this season. You know what I mean? That the team has been doing well. But if at the end of it all, the same problems are going to be there, are resurfacing, if we're not going to win the league, okay, only one team can win the league, I can get it, but at least there would be improvement. But that game against Sporting, that showed us up for what we are. And the progress is not as far-reaching or as rapid as a lot of people believe, because we were nowhere in that game against Sporting, and they fully deserved their win 100%. Like you said, you can only judge a team by their last game or by their next game. I don't know. Like, even if we win tomorrow, I mean, the problem is that Arteta will just do enough to hold on to his job season after season after season. And that is not good enough. I mean, at some point, like, I mean, his coaching experience before he came into the job, I think, was at Manchester City under Pep. He wasn't a full manager himself. He was assistant to Pep. Now, we all know that Pep was working the magic at City and Arteta was making the tea. Well, let's be honest about it. It was Pep. He was the one. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm completely deflated, you know. It was just a real wake-up call. And now that the pressure is mounting on the team, I think they don't respond well to pressure. Like, because that was a pressure game last Thursday. We were at home. We needed to do something against a very good team. I don't know, man. Wait till we go to the Etihad. Like what did David Owens say? 6-0 against Burnley. That is what is coming to Arsenal when they go to the Etihad. It could well be.
I'm pretty certain that we won't lose 6-0, but it could very well end up being like the 3-1 result at the Emirates. Because, I mean, having said that, though, of course, we did see City beat United 6-3 to that particular score earlier on in the season. At that particular time, United were still going through the turmoil of the Ronaldo scandal. And I think the team simply didn't have that much in terms of, chemistry within them. And Ten Hag was still finding his bearings. The thing about City, which if you take a look at them closely, I think what impressed me a lot about this particular performance is that they were something like 2-0 up at halftime and then turned on the style against a team like Burnley. Let's put it into perspective. They were managed, of course, by a former Manchester City legend, but Vincent Kompany won't turn them from Burnley to City overnight. And there's still a lot of gaps in quality between Burnley and City. When it comes to Arsenal and City, yes, there are some gaps. I'm not saying otherwise. But are those gaps that big enough that could see us getting spanked 6-0 at the Etihad? I really don't know. But if we do get spanked by that scoreline, we will still have to take a look at ourselves. And yet there are a few toxic fans who will say, you know what, this result was expected. Let's, focus on the next one. And listen, don't get me wrong. We all hear these. We know about these same buzzwords. We know that it isn't just about how hard you hit; it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. But you don't hit yourself, then keep moving forward and take credit for surviving those hits. Self-inflicted wounds are nothing of which don't earn you badges of honor. I'm sorry to say that, but that's the truth. But We're going to have to make sure that we do our best and make sure that we beat Crystal Palace convincingly tomorrow. We then afterwards have Leeds, who did have a good win against Wolverhampton today, but still do not look like a good team, and I think we will have to measure them. The Liverpool game is going to be key. Yeah, the Liverpool game is certainly going to be key. It just angers me as well in that if people have this attitude of saying that, the Premiership is the main aim, why do you end up wanting to see the team play in other competitions? If you think the other competitions are meaningless, why do you even bother to come up and support the team then? I mean, sometimes I can't understand the fan base, really. I mean, they have a go at us for being toxic, but most of what they say is just utter word salad. It really is.
Mm-hmm. They aren't like, I mean, I understand that a lot of them are younger guys, yeah. I get it, yeah. There's a new generation, new kids on the block, if you want to put it like that. I get it, yeah. And you can be respectful of them to a certain extent. They're young, they're wet behind the ears. They don't like, when we haven't won the league in 19 years, these guys weren't around the last time we won it. Or they were too young to remember it. You know what I mean? Exactly. So they don't actually know where the club is coming from, what we have achieved in the past, and where our standards used to be and used to lie. What was expected of Arsenal. You know what I mean? I mean, we had to fight hard for those league wins back then, I remember. And the doubles and the 49 unbeaten and the 26 games, the season we went unbeaten and we had like 26 wins and 12 draws, this kind of thing, the Invincibles. But we had real quality in the squad. It wasn't just about Wenger. We had players that we can't even dream of these days. Like Dennis Bergkamp for 7.5 million was a snip, and he wasn't the only one. I mean, we had the greatest players that have ever played for the club were playing at that time. Adams came back, inspirational. Steve Bold was doing the business. Winterburn was rejuvenated under Arsene Wenger. The training, the dieting, the this, the that. I mean, the time of Arsene Wenger was a truly magnificent time for everybody associated with the club. He turned the club on its head, and from a 1-0 to the Arsenal, with respect to George Graham, we became a very entertaining, attacking team. We played good football, and we were winning, and we were scoring loads of goals, and we were attracting all the best players. Now, I mean, these fans don't remember that. They obviously, like I said, they're wet behind the ears. They're just new kids on the block. They don't understand. But they need to be respectful to people like Kyle, yourself, myself, Arsenal Alex, Del Boy, McManus there, because before them, there was us. You know what I mean? But we actually know what it's like to be successful and actually win games and do something. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes.
They need, like, me, myself, as an Arsenal fan, I am always modest. And it doesn't matter if we win the league this season and if we were one of the best Arsenal sides to ever, we break all the records this season, I would still actually be grounded. Believe it or not, guys, I actually would. Because I've seen the worst of times too with the club and the best of times. And when a good time comes along, you have to be grateful. But I would not suddenly turn into the biggest a-hole on the planet, Arsenal this and Arsenal that. You have to be grounded. But these younger fans, they don't know about, like, if somebody comes on my channel, okay, Manny, and he, like you, for example, or Kyle, and you are disagreeing with me, everybody is entitled to voice their opinion on my channel, and I will not berate the person for having a different opinion to mine, because at the end of the day, we are all Arsenal fans, and even if it's a Liverpool fan, and even if it's a United fan, you know what I mean? I'm not going to be splitting hairs, because at the end of the day, we're all on the same road, we're on one road, you know what I mean? So there has to be some kind of mutual respect between people, whether you're a YouTuber or not, just as fans, because I am a fan and you're a fan. Among fans, I'm talking about. I have a very small channel. It's a hobby for me. I enjoy it. I'm passionate about the club. And there you go. I meet good people like yourself and Kyle. You know what I mean? That's all it's about. At the end of the day, life is short. But for people to actually come out and speak about other people and put them down because their opinions differ to theirs, I don't agree with that. Live and let live, man. You know what I mean? It's one club, like I said, this season, and my opinion might differ to other people's because I am Mikel Arteta out. But when the team are doing well this season, we all need to support the team and push in the one direction. And that is what I have been doing. I have been putting my personal feelings about Mikel Arteta to one side and actually looking at the joy and the happiness that is bringing to the fans, the camaraderie among the players. I mean, this is a positive thing. This is nothing but positive. Long may it continue, yeah? But we all need to push in the one direction and not be so judging of each other. And be
I agree
respectful.
completely.
Be respectful. Be respectful. I work in a hotel. I meet fans from all over England supporting different clubs. And Arsenal fans, they might differ in their opinions to me about the club. But I'm respectful. And at the end of the day, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's the least you can be, man. Seriously, like I don't want to make myself sound like Martin Luther King or Gandhi, but you know what I mean?
I agree completely.
This
I
is
agree
the way it
completely. And
is.
listen,
Man.
Dave, I agree completely. And listen, here's the
man.
thing. You know, I'm not about to sort of get into any kind of fist fights with people. The only problem is, I remember coming back on Twitter, and one of the first things I did was sort of write a long spiel about my fears for Arsenal this season. And then almost immediately, some geezer comes up and replies and says, if you aren't willing to support Arteta, then you're vermin and we don't want you here. The team's going through a wonderful phase right now. Arteta is doing a terrific job, and we need to make sure that we back him. If you're not willing to back him, then we don't need you here. And I don't want to start a fight. I'm not here to make personal insults against people. I'm not about to say to someone, if you support Mikel Arteta, then you're an idiot. In the same way that those people say, if you can't see what Mikel Arteta is doing, then you're a fool.
Yeah.
We're not the ones who are throwing around insults at other fans. It's those fans who are throwing the insults at us. We want to see the team do better. We're all hoping that Arsenal can win. And if Arsenal can, end up winning and succeeding, then we're all going to, I'm certainly going to do my bit to say I was wrong about Arteta. Maybe he deserves a chance in some respect. And I will have some reservations given his tactics during his European attempts, and have some fear of the Champions League campaign. But at the end of the day, we've gotten the Premiership trophy. I won't say it's all that matters, but it makes things a bit better. And I want to read this quote. Kenny Ken said some of the fan base left the game Thursday saying it's a tin pot club and we have bigger fish to fry. And that comes up to the question I asked earlier. If you believe that these are tin pot tournaments, why the hell are you coming in your droves to support the damn team? What absolute... Yeah.
When someone like me could get a ticket, or maybe you could get a ticket if you were in London, these people are taking the tickets.
Yeah, they're taking the tickets and they're taking the mickey as far as I'm concerned.
They're taking the biscuit, boy.
Yep, absolutely.
They've a lot to learn, I swear to God, man.
Exactly. And these are the ones, mind you, who were giving the Arsenal fan base a bit of a bad name because, they seem to flip-flop and everything. It isn't even so much about changing your mind as the facts change. They have this sort of a mentality that the club can do no wrong. It's one thing to support the club through thick and thin and want it to do better. It's another thing to claim that your club is perfect and it cannot do wrong, and the manager can do no wrong, and the players can do no wrong. I'm sorry, but that's setting everything up for disaster. And the moment you start to adopt that sort of mentality and start to, walk about with your head held high, your chest pumped out, you can get tripped up by something on the road and fall flat on your face. And then that's going to really be painful. And that's why people like us say, you know what, we have to look to do better. If we're critical of some of the performances, there are some performances which I didn't like. I mean, Jorginho was one I didn't like. I was delighted with the way he was performing in the Premier League of late, but I think he's shown that he has no real stamina. Zinchenko, I don't care. As I said, I don't care how much he adds to the transition to attack. It is not going to be worth it if he leaves those gaps back in the defense to be exploited.
And we're exploited, yeah.
With Tomiyasu injured, he might not play against Liverpool. So you are going to have to stick Kieran Tierney there rather than run the risk of having Salah, Gakpo, and Nunes run roughshod over you. And then if those three aren't bad enough, you then have to deal with Haaland, Foden, and Grealish, or whoever else may be up front. City scored 7 in the midweek. They've scored 6 today. Ay, caramba. It's going to be horrible.
Yeah, they're actually coming into like a real rich vein of form. And it is concerning. I mean, anybody that thinks that I'm the most positive Arsenal fan you could ever meet. I am just nothing but positive, open-minded about the team and supportive. But us going to the Etihad, look, we are going to get, I mean, it doesn't matter how long we can keep it up for, because like an Arsenal, a woman I know that is an Arsenal fan, she was watching, I think, the second game we played against them, yeah, not the cup game, the league one, I think it was. And she, whichever game was the second one when they beat us, and she turned around and said that the game turned on its head almost like all of a sudden, like in the second half, it was just City. And it just turned like that quickly. And even though it was like on the scoreline, it was close, it was dominant. I mean, we were second to everything. Now, the team did their best. I honestly believe that. They went out and they gave it everything they had against City. A couple of decisions maybe went against us, but that's football. But we weren't good enough to overcome that. And they took control and they had the quality. They really put it up to us and we couldn't respond. No, look, we lost to City, not the end of the world. They are a fantastic, fantastic team. They will do that to a lot of teams this season and next season. But the thing was that when it turned, we completely were just overwhelmed by them. So anyone thinks that we're going to go to the Etihad and get a result, guys, listen, we need to think about the other games and what we can get out of them. Because for me, the City game is already 3 points lost. And that's the way we have to approach it. Because I'm not saying approach it in a negative frame of mind, but Arteta needs to know he doesn't have the nous or the know-how to get something out of the Etihad. He doesn't. Guardiola is going to get the best of that one. They're going to take the 3 points. So what can we do in the rest of the games? That's what we have to focus on. My opinion, and I don't want to be negative, they will beat us at the Etihad. It is going to happen. What can we do in the other games? You know what I mean? And like you said, they do the slip up, but it's looking ominous. And like I said, they have players in different positions. They are complete opposites of each other. They can all do something different and they can unlock the defense. They're varied, and they're very, very good on the ball and they're fluent. I just think, look, long may continue what's going on at the club here, and this little bit of improvement, if you could call it that, should be supported. But the one thing I always say to other fans when I see them, when they try to say something Arsenal is, I say Arsenal fans are also realistic, the fans that I know, because I will turn around and I will be modest and I will be realistic about our chances against Manchester City. I'm not going to say, training session, we lift the title in May. I say it's going to be tight. It's going to be close. Too close to call, in my opinion. Or else I say, I think City will overtake us. I think they think that I'm trying to play it down. I'm not trying to play it down. That is my opinion. Just don't get carried away. In a great season, we've had a lot of happy memories. Like, they put a smile on my face. They come back against Bournemouth, whether it was lucky or whatever, or this or that. Reece Nelson taking his chance with aplomb and bearing the ball in the back of the net. I mean, the absolute euphoric celebrations at the end. I mean, that will live long in the memory for me. And I am an Arsenal fan, like I said, since I was 13 years of age. 30 years I've been an Arsenal fan. Now, it reminded me, I have like butterflies in my stomach. I get nervous before games. This is what I wanted, like a little bit of an adrenaline rush. I'm genuinely nervous before games, and I will be before the game tomorrow. You know what I mean? I just can't wait for the start to actually see what happens. And I'm looking for the scoreline. I'm like, my God, what's going to happen? You know what I mean? It's great to be back in that kind of buzz and actually have a team that is actually competing again. But if we don't win the league this season and what we saw in Europe recently, I mean, everything's not rosy in the garden as such. And this season was really our chance. If we don't take it this season, I don't know when the next time we're going to get an opportunity, because financially the game has changed also, and we are no longer high up in the pecking order. Players would rather go to Chelsea than Arsenal. Well, that's just one example. Okay, we can't attract the players like we did before. We haven't done that in I don't know how long.
Exactly, and the reason why is because we haven't won the league in 19 years. We haven't won a European trophy in 29 years. Next year will be the 20th and 30th years since we've done those things. So you obviously take a look at our club and see that we just don't. We might not have that pulling power anymore, and it's another reminder that nothing succeeds like success. We have to make sure that we become a successful club again. And it's only then that we can hope to, get things done. It's one thing to take a look at Chelsea, for example, and see how Roman Abramovich's millions have changed the club. But had it not been for Jose Mourinho's coaching, and of course the players they're able to bring in with the money, they wouldn't have been as successful as they've been in winning those Premiership titles and those cups, and also those European trophies. And since and people are going to take a look and say, well, it's just Russian money, so you can't really, claim a crow about that. But listen, we might end up being Manchester United might end up being taken over by another Arab billionaire, and we might need to get one of our own. I do hope, for the sake of controversy, that Daniel Ek does come in with a new offer, although I don't think that'll happen. But success is success. People who live in glass houses, Dave, should not throw stones. We have no business being critical of other clubs and how they're able to acquire success when we can't even find it in our in ourselves to try to win anything more than maybe an odd FA Cup here and there, sprinkled over like salt. It's ridiculous. And you take the 2004 thing, we still cling to that Invincibles triumph as if it's one of the greatest achievements to be ever done by a Premiership team. That season, we could potentially have won the treble, mind you. But we had an early exit in the FA Cup. We exited the quarterfinals of the Champions League to Chelsea. Now, and this isn't a means of saying that,
I remember it.
Yeah. And so I'm sure that was actually the first season after David Seaman left, and that was Martin Keown and Ray Parler's final seasons at the club, if I'm not wrong. So we had our chance to possibly make history that way. And instead, we end up talking about how we won the league championship with enough wins, but also a large section of draws, and cling to that as if, we have our place in history. We should be respected as a Premier League team. I take the point that other teams have had bigger gaps in between, but they've been able to win European silverware. We haven't. And the only European silverware that we have, the Fairs Cup and the ECWC, the Cup Winners' Cup, they're now both defunct. So what do we have to look back on? How can we sort of stick our chests out and our noses up and say, our club can do no wrong, when we take a look inside ourselves and say, look, we have to be better? There is nothing wrong with taking a look inside yourself and saying you have to be better. That's what a good fan should do.
Yeah.
And just because we may not agree with some of these top gooners on these things, that doesn't make us poor fans. But as a club, we've got to try to do better. We've got to strive to achieve a lot more. And it wasn't enough under Wenger to reach the semi-finals or the quarterfinals of the Champions League. 2006 will forever be a missed opportunity. What Jens Lehmann was thinking getting himself sent off, I have no idea. Robert Perez was left absolutely distraught as he was substituted early for Manuel Almunia in his home stadium at the Parc des Princes. And, despite going 1-0 up through Sol Campbell, we ended up losing 2-1. And it just goes to show that you can't take for granted that if you finish a runner-up the first time, you're going to do it the next time. That is another reminder, Dave. It's another reminder. Success one season does not necessarily materialize to something even bigger the next season. Leicester City, of course, have found that out.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Leicester City don't have our history, but we, as a fan base, need to know more of our history. We need to know. We need to make sure that we are sensible enough to understand that. People forget about. You earn success one day. And you can't just keep harking back to it Limpet. And the game moves on. We have to move on as a club, and we have to try to be better than we were yesterday. And until the fans realize that, we're still going to be stuck in the same thing. It had to take the best part of 10 years for the fan base to unite and say, you know what? We can't take any more of this under Wenger. He needs to leave.
Yeah.
Do we really want to have the same thing under Mikel Arteta, potentially? No chance.
And no success, like league title-wise. I mean, at least the league title was something under Wenger. The doubles, the Invincibles.
Oh, yes.
And the joy of watching Bergkamp on replay. And Blumberg and Perez and Sol Campbell and Vieira.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Honestly, man.
Absolutely.
And
Wenger
that,
won the
and that
double in
night
his
in
second
Paris,
season.
and the night in Paris in 2006, I will never forget that game. I was meant to be training, doing karate. I did go to training, and when I finished, I went straight into the bar. I wasn't drinking alcohol, no, guys. But all my friends were in the bar, so I went into the bar. It was half time. We were in with a shout. Then the second half unfolded. I will never forget that game. Like you said, man, about Lehman getting sent off. I will never forget that game. Like, as a friend of mine said, he was a diehard United fan. Arsenal were giving as good as they were getting until the sending off. It changed everything, man. But I'll never forget that final of 2006, man. I can remember it like it was yesterday. That will always be the game for me that will stick in my throat. You know what I mean? Because the way it ended, Etu scoring, we had such a great team. I mean, Ashley Cole was an incredible player. Sol Campbell, awesome talent. Henry battled and battled and battled. They were kicking bits. They were kicking lumps out of him. I mean, the ref should have protected him a bit more. I will never ever forget that game, man. That was a game where we could have done something, you know. But now we have been completely eclipsed because Chelsea became the first team in London to win the Champions League. City have been so successful domestically, and they have also done a little bit in the Champions League. Liverpool, I mean, they always seem to do well in the Champions League, to be honest. Like, Liverpool are always thereabouts, even though they lost last season, even though this season they're out. When it comes to the crunch, they pull it out. They pull out the stops. They pull out all the stops, Liverpool, and they manage to just cut loose and do it. United, the same. We just don't seem to have the wherewithal, the tactical nous, the belief, the drive is another thing I think we don't have sometimes, because when we get the opportunity, we don't tend to catch the opposition by the throat. You know, go for the jugular, go for the absolute kill. I mean, United are even developing that now again under Ten Hag, and it's worrying to see. If you go to Old Trafford, okay, they had a blip against Liverpool, of course, at Anfield, but Ten Hag is developing that side of United again, that if you go to their home, more than likely they will take the 3 points and they go for the kill. You know what I mean? When they sense blood. We're a bit of a team, we're kind of standoffish a little bit. We don't tend to be ruthless enough when we have a team exposed and just get that goal at the right time to make 1 point, 3 points. We should have done Sporting the other night. We had the players on the field, we could have actually beaten them, but we needed to fight. It would have meant a hell of a lot to the fan base, to everybody involved with the club, if we had progressed. And Manny, that has a knock-on effect. We'd be going into the game tomorrow. We would be going into the game tomorrow, and we will be flying. And the fans and everyone. Now, there's a bit of uncertainty creeping in. And our hardest challenge this season has yet to be addressed. It's lying ahead. It's waiting for us. 11 cup finals. 11 cup finals. How many of those cup finals are we going to win? City are waiting for us. Liverpool are waiting for us. Palace are waiting for us tomorrow. It's just changed everything in my mind. And the game tomorrow is going to be a wake-up call. And if we win it, guys, big up the team, man. But City is around the corner. We need a game plan in place to combat what they're going to do to us at the Etihad. And has Arteta got it? If he couldn't do it Thursday night against Sporting, he's not going to be able to do it against City at the Etihad. Trust me, guys. Listen to what I'm trying to tell you, guys. Look at the performance. Look at the way the team went out last Thursday against Sporting Lisbon. They should have been taking the door off the changing room on their way out onto the field. Raging, ripping, getting to a bit of the physical stuff. Maybe someone picks up a yellow. Maybe that was the problem. But a bit of fight, a bit of determination, a bit of heart, and a bit of spirit. It was all lacking.
Absolutely.
Seriously,
and let's not forget that Sporting had 2 players suspended, including their captain Sebastian Coates.
Exactly. And I was looking at that before the game, and I was going, you know what? We're going to sneak it 2-1. We're going to get through. We're going to do the business. And I was expected to see Saka raiding, Martinelli at his best, Jesus adding a bit of impetus. We didn't shoot at the goal. And our keeper, in fairness, like for the goal, he was absolutely beating all ends up. Look, in the penalties, he was a little bit unlucky, Ramsdale. I know you're not the biggest fan of his head. You alluded to that on Thursday night. That's fair enough. But I mean, in other areas of the field, we were really found wanting. And when Saliba went off, it was like all hands to the pump, man. And we were lethargic. There was no kind of response. There was nobody banging their chest. There was nobody, come on. I think Zinchenko tried to do it once or twice, but I mean, and Odegaard was like, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough, and they had us in the second half. We got dominated. That's I see it, man.
Exactly. And the reason why I was angry with Ramsdale is because, he had no business standing over there in that position, because it reminded a lot of us of Naeem from the halfway line in 1995. If Naeem hadn't have scored, that final would have gone to penalties and it would have been a lottery. Not saying that necessarily we would have won it, but of course we won the semi-final on penalties with Seaman being magnificent that day. Who knows what would have happened? So it's another lesson for Ramsdale. You don't always need to be completely up and up all the time. And at that particular moment, when you know that your player doesn't have the ball, that's the moment where you've got to start backtracking. It reminded me also of that goal that Patrick Schick from the Czech Republic scored against David Marshall in the European Championships.
Yes.
Any single outfielder worth his salt, if he sees the goalkeeper off his line, will now look to try to whack it all the way from the 40, 45 or even 50-yard line and try and catch the goalkeeper off. And if the goalkeeper is able to, prevent it from going in, hallelujah, you saved yourself from embarrassment. But if you can't, the way Marshall and Ramsdale didn't do, then it's just it's piss poor on your part. I was a goalkeeper in my youth. I like the classic old school style of goalkeeping, where at least, when you have the basics right, the sound basics of goalkeeping spot on, you also have a base by which you can start to acquire some new skills. I'll take a look at Emi Martinez, who, for me, he's the perfect all-round goalkeeper. And today, of course, he's just broken the record for keeping the most clean sheets in his first 100 Premier League games. I'm not too sure if that's for the entire Premiership, or because I'm pretty certain that the likes of there have been other keepers who've gotten more, but it might be only for Aston Villa. But he's the perfect old school goalkeeper, all-round goalkeeper who covers his angles well, who doesn't make camera saves unless it's necessary. He's exceptional on crosses. He claims everything perfectly. He might on set pieces. He's okay. You can't have a situation where there are too many keepers who are okay on set pieces, although I have seen him do really well in terms of being able to anticipate well and cover everything well. His sense of anticipation and decision-making are absolutely spot on. And of course, he's a beast on penalties. How else do you think he won the World Cup and the Copa America, for crying out loud?
Up here.
Absolutely. He's also a terrific athlete. Obviously, he might have won by getting into the head of the penalty takers.
King of the mind games.
Yeah, that's been outlawed now. But he still prepares very well. He still has the ability to get across very quickly and make sure he dominates everything. And that's how you do it. With penalties, Ramsdale doesn't make himself big enough. He has so many technical deficiencies in his game. It's scary. Even when he dives for the ball, he leaves such big gaps between his arm and his body, or between his legs, which make him a perfect target for anyone who fires a shot low at him. I mean, people will like to absolve him from blame for the Jack Grealish goal between Arsenal and Manchester City. But the thing is, if that were David Seaman or Emi Martinez in that goal, that shot would have been saved. Mark my words, because the deflection didn't really take it. It kept it going on the same direction.
Yeah,
it didn't completely deviate at all. It didn't deviate. It didn't deviate. So that was one of the reasons why I was quite angry with Ramsdale's performance, because yes, he made a good save from Edwards, but again, any goalkeeper worth his salt would have to make that save in terms of, Edwards also, I think he froze and wasn't able to place it in front of him. Place it beyond Ramsdale completely.
Yeah.
But it's another idea of how there's been so much hype around our players that sometimes in the clutch moments, if they don't come up successful, they have to accept some form of criticism. And it's another reminder to the players that, as well as they may have done, they're not the finished article yet. And so I'm sick of a lot of these top gooners praising our players as world beaters when we haven't won anything yet. And that's what gets my goat. And it's performances like this, where several of these much vaunted players fail to stand up to be counted, that really angers me a great deal. And people like you, Kyle, and myself, and of course the likes of Jez Collins, Warren Bartholomew, Kenny Ken, Darren Sullivan, and many others, we've seen more than our share of games over the years. Kenny, Darren, Jez, and Warren have seen even more than you and me.
Yeah.
So we know what we're talking about. We see good football, and we can judge good football. And as I said to Kyle, you can't serve us crap and call that and tell us there's chicken curry, because we know what's what. So, I still firmly believe that even with our injury problems, even if we have to run the risk of playing Jakub Kivior, I don't think we'll play Kivior tomorrow. We might end up sticking with Holding, who didn't do too badly himself against Sporting Lisbon. We should be more than a match for. We should be more than a match. But this is now where things are going to get interesting, because injuries are starting to creep in. And when the injuries come in, do we have the squad that will help us get over the line? I really don't think we do. And that's our poor business in the transfer window, historically, which will come back to bite us in the backside once again.
I agree, Manny. Honestly, man, it's a big one tomorrow. That's all I can say about that. Yeah, I mean, it's 100% right what you said there, but I'm focusing on tomorrow, the game against Palace. Yeah. We need to take the 3 points.
Yes.
Absolutely massive game. I mean, every game now is a cup final, as some of the players were saying, but it is like that. But honestly, I don't know, man. Like I said, it was very disheartening on Thursday. That's all I'm going to say. It was very, very, very disheartening. Yeah, it's kind of knocked the stuffing out of me, to be honest, anyway. But look, I've come on. I've done my thing. I'm keeping my channel. But yeah, definitely tomorrow when the kickoff comes, it'll be like, even if we win, I'll be kind of thinking, look, it's going to be an interesting run-in. I mean, we can't deny that. I mean, and this is what we want. At least we're top of the league, and we can look forward and say, look, at least we're actually in with a shout. But more needs to happen, and we could have done more to secure some better players to give us that maybe that extra impetus we need to get across the finish line, because it's going to be it's going to be very difficult for the team in the last 11 games. And I mean, at some point we're going to stutter, we're going to stumble. Hopefully City will too. But they've been there and they've done it. And they maybe have that little bit more experience in the final run-in. And for me, they're getting stronger. But we'll see. That they're just getting momentum at the correct time, and they're right on our shoulder. They're right where they need to be going into the last round as such. It's like a boxing fight. You know what I mean?
Very true. Very true.
That's my thought.
If I can offer one crumb of comfort, one thing I've noticed about City is that they can be very sloppy and lackadaisical and a bit lazy at times. And when they find that they have something that needs to be done, they just don't have the time to do it. That's what happened against Brentford when they played them at the Etihad.
Yeah.
But now in these last few games, if these last few games are anything to go by, they are preparing for a huge, huge fight. So
yeah,
we're going to have to make sure that we've got our armors fully worn and our battle shields drawn.
Yeah.
Do we have the stomach for it?
I think they do. I think there's a good belief in the club. But I mean, I just think City have more firepower. I think all round. And like I said, when we go there, you know, I think it's a no-brainer. That's just how I see things. I don't think we can compete with them over the 90 minutes and actually come away with a point. I just can't see how it's going to happen. Maybe we have some trick up our sleeve. Maybe we get a bit of luck throughout the game, and we can kind of. But look, I just can't. From what happened in the first 2 games, I just can't see that happening, and that is my look. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there if that's okay with you, Manny, man. And I'd like to thank you for coming on this stream, yeah. And thank you for coming on and wearing the same T-shirt, yeah. I appreciate it.
And listen, thank you for putting the link in the chat.
Pleasure.
I just wanted to come on and say hi and sort of leave you and Mr. Walsh to sort of have the floor to yourselves. But the fact that you kept me on, it really makes me happy. I know that Del Boy is really the person who you sort of gives me more exposure here. But you're the person I always say who helped me come back on you, come over here onto this platform.
Thank you very much.
You introduced me, and that's why you aren't forgotten. And I'm going to make sure that I keep.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You know,
I appreciate.
I'm going to make sure that I start shouting you out every single chance I get. So I'm sorry.
Thank you very much.
If you think I haven't given you the publicity you deserve, but you know that you're still here and here. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Manny. I appreciate it, man. It's very nice of you to say. Thank you very much.
Always, man. Always a
And
pleasure to chat with you. And
do you
can't wait
want
for
to
the
give
next
a
time.
quick mention to where you're going to be, or what you're going to be doing, or what you have ahead, or just to big up yourself?
Well, I mean, tomorrow, the usual. I'll be on Del Boy's channel after the Palace game. We'll
Mm.
either be celebrating a win, but not too loudly because we know we've got bigger tests ahead. Or
That's
if
a
the
jam.
worst happens, then we get a bad result, you're going to see me, Mr. Walsh, and a few others completely losing it, and that's pretty much it. And I will also be hoping to get the S. Featley TV channel up and running after Easter because I want to make sure their family has enough time to grieve his sad passing. And I do have a few plans to
Are you
take that
running that
forward.
channel? Are you running that channel?
Yeah, basically what happened was that before he passed away, he made it clear that he would like me to take over the running of the channel going forward, and I will
Okay.
be having some support from a lot of our friends if need be. And I do have some ideas on what to do and how to get it done, and I just have to make sure I get myself up to date with all of the all of the software involved and everything, and that's quite easy. He showed me some of it. He showed me what's really needed, and that can be taken care of quite easily. And there might be if there are any things that need to be taken care of, I will make sure that that's arranged. But yeah, Del Boy Gunner TV, S. Featley TV, and a few other channels as well. I don't know if I'll be active tomorrow in any of them, but you can catch me on a few of them. And once the channel S. Featley is back and active, I'd like to bring you on, and maybe we can have a little bit of a chin wag.
Sure, yeah. And I will support it. And if you need help, I was really sorry to hear about his passing. I mean,
yeah, it was. It's something that you know is going to happen, but it still hits you really hard.
Yeah.
And if 28 or so is no age to pass away, it's just not. And
he's only a spring chicken.
Yes, and it sort of makes us realize that we do have a lot in our lives for which we need to be grateful, but we must also never take for granted how important our health is. So all I can say to all of you is get yourselves checked whenever you possibly can. If you have any issues, if you feel some type of discomfort in your body, check yourselves well. To get as much exercise as you need to. Exercise is important. Drink plenty of water. I know I sound like a little bit of a soapbox.
No, but it's true.
But it is. But in this day,
health is your wealth.
Exactly. Health is wealth, and it should never be taken for granted. And let's also learn to treat each other better, even if that means getting along with people who might, curse us. I think it was, I don't know if you're a religious person, Dave, but I think Jesus Christ said it best. We have to love our enemies and pray for the people who curse us and persecute us, because if we don't, we're no different from the tax collectors and hypocrites who do the same that we do. We'll never be perfect as our Heavenly Father is perfect, but all we can do is strive to become better, at least in the name of the Lord.
And we have a lot also to be grateful for, man. Like you said, our health. You know what I mean? You take that for granted sometimes.
Absolutely.
Poor Stephen, man. Poor old Stephen, man. Oh, well.
Yes.
Gone but not forgotten, huh? I was happy to hear, though, the other night on Del Boys, you were saying about the channel. I was like, he's taking on the channel. I was kind of like, it's just, you know what I mean? But it makes sense to me. I was just surprised that, it kind of came up in the conversation randomly, and then I was kind of like, when you were mentioning at the end, that's what it was. You were mentioning what you're going to be active on and what you're going to be doing. And when you said that, I was like, it sounded good. I mean, I support it 110%. And if I can help in any way, just let me know, yeah? In any way.
Yeah, I will get in touch with you on that. And definitely, if there's anything that I might need from you, you'll get something from me.
Yeah,
definitely.
Let me know, man. And thank you for coming on my channel. Yeah, I appreciate it. Take care of yourself, yeah?
Yeah, always. Enjoy your weekend. Once again, happy St. Patrick's Day belatedly.
Thank you very much.
And well done to Ireland on the Grand Slam. Good luck for the World Cup. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a good Sunday. Don't do anything that Dave and I wouldn't do. I'm about to leave. We're about to wrap it up. And as always, as Dave would say, come on, you Gunners.
Come on, you Gunners. We're going to do it, guys. All right. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel. I might do a preview of the game tomorrow. I'm actually working at 5 p.m., but I might do a preview before I go to work. But keep an eye on my channel, guys. Please come out and support me. support Manny, of course, because soon he will be kickstarting Stephen Featley TV. He will be starting S Featley TV again. And yeah, I support that 110%. Good luck to Arsenal tomorrow. They'll be in my thoughts and my prayers because we're going to need a bit of luck tomorrow, I think, to get the 3 points. But let's see what happens. Take care of yourselves, guys. All the best. Thank you to Manny once again for coming on. You're a gentleman. And see you later, guys. Adios.